Howdy ho, Lions fans. Welcome to the Detroit Lions podcast. This is episode 457. This is the official Detroit Lions podcast for Reddit. This is the Lions season in the balance, and it's coming hard. I'm your host, Chris, and with me is my good friend and co-host, Jeff the Riz Risen. How you doing, brother?
I'm ready to come hard, baby. Let's go.
Oh, you listened to the intro music, did you?
The intro music, I felt like I was in a Cameo video or something. I kept waiting for my codpiece to drop from the sky. Tell me you know who Cameo is. People, you know who Cameo is, right? Word up. Yep. Great cover by Korn, by the way. Yep.
All right,
so
today's show.
I have to break this down real fast. This is the first beer I've had since before we did the St. Jude's Telethon. I have been digestively incapacitated, and I got cleared, so I'm enjoying this with y'all. So, cheers. Canadian beer, of course. But
Wow.
beggars can't be choosers. That's all I had laying around.
I got Yuengling, traditional lager. I think it's the oldest.
Nice.
America's oldest brewery. There you go. So I'm sticking to old school.
Boy, when that became available in Ohio, my family went nuts. My brother-in-law went to the store and bought like 8 cases.
All right, let's see. Okay, we have got a great show for you. We've got a lot to cover. We're going to review the Bears game because we need a moment. We need a moment to just kind of enjoy. And then from there, we're going to talk about Damar Hamlin because we got to have a little bit of seriousness in our lives. We're talking about draft news. We're going to review the injury report, and we're going to preview the Packers game and a whole lot more. We got a wonderful show lined up for you. Are you ready to go, Riz?
Oh, yeah! Let's do it.
Let's kick this off and break it down.
All right. Woo! Let's get this on. Let's get it going on. We got it going on. I haven't listened to that other guy too much. A lot to talk about today, man. Let's start first off. I want to talk about some accessibility updates we've done. If you guys have friends who have issues, maybe some hearing disabilities or inability to hear at 100% or anything like that, we've really upped our game on the accessibility side to help with the transcriptions on the bottom of the screen. And for folks that, you're in a loud work environment or whatever, you can't, put on headsets or whatever, you can watch the show and the transcriptions across the bottom are going to be a lot better than the standard YouTube ones. They don't come in till a couple hours after the show, but they'll be there. And not only that, for those the English speakers, but if you have folks who speak another language who like football but can't quite get into the content that's out there because it's all English, we're gonna have 19 languages of transcriptions available for our shows for you guys. So this is for everybody. Wow. Listen to this. We're gonna have Arabic, Chinese, Danish, Dutch, English, French, German, Hungarian, Hindi, Hawaiian, Indonesian, Italian, Japanese, Korean, Malay, Portuguese, Russian, Spanish, and Swedish available for folks who are into football. There was a couple others we wanted to do, but we didn't because they weren't available ones. But we do have Guam covered, and that was the one thing I want to make sure is we had our
Guam!
Guam covered up. So there you go. We're doing some work to be inclusive and make sure that everybody can take part in the show because we care about you all. There you go. All right, let's get going here. We got a lot going on. We want to absolutely get to what Nostradamus is talking about here after the mother F&P, and we will get to that. But first, we got to talk about the Bears game. And Riz, I want to set this up really quick. I'll let you kind of do the chatty chat from here, but the team was universally bad against the Panthers across the board. They were flat. They just couldn't deliver what we wanted from a football team in a football game. It was a terrible, terrible team game. The opposite was so true against the Bears. Yes, the Bears are a bad team. We know that, but they were out there as one. And I don't think anything illustrated that more than Jared Goff running down the sideline when Jamal Williams had that ball and was looking to get the Barry Sanders record tied. That was so great to watch how excited he was for Jamal. That was just, they were out there as one.
It really was. And I'm so glad the Sandman captured those in the slow lights and featured that. Yep. Good job, buddy. That was exactly what we needed as a Lions fan base, but also for the team. Because Dan Dan talked about, the need to rebound. And I know they stress that, you've got to put a bad game behind you. And Carolina was a very bad game at a very inopportune time. But to come out and do what they did, how they did it to Chicago,
Yeah.
just a thorough dominant. After the first two drives, Chicago got 5 first downs the rest of the game. That's impressive. You hold Justin Fields and his wide receiving core. And by the way, Tom Kennedy, who's not on the Lions roster, would be the wide receiver 1 in Chicago. So you don't want to like I know that you're beating up a defenseless animal, but you've got to beat the defenseless animal. Like you got to bury it. You got to you got to skin that armadillo, man. That's what you got to do, and they did it. What good teams do, they take care of bad teams. And I have never felt better about the Lions as a quality organization since I've been doing this show. Since because of what happened Sunday, because they did. It's a very bad time for the SOL people, and I cannot stress enough how gleeful that makes me. That those SOL people are clutching their pearls. Where do I go now? They didn't show their same old wow crap. What do I do? How do I this negative? Like I can feel their negative energy and their frantic sense of loss because the team's good and they played good. And I hope those people have a really rotten new year.
Absolutely.
I'll give them the olive branch. You've got a choice with the olive branch. I'll either extend it to you and you can get on board and be happy with what you got, or I'm going to beat your fucking ass with it. That's your choice with the olive branch. The SOL crap needs to stop, and Sunday was why. If you're still clinging to that after that, go the hell away. Go root for Green Bay, because that's the kind of team that you want.
So you're saying that the olive branch is a switch if they're not careful?
Damn straight, man. It's like when I was in high school, so a brief diversion here. I dated my minister's daughter, which is never a good thing to do. As on Palm Sunday one year, you know how they walk down and he's flinging the palms. He whacked me across the face with it. Actually, I still have a little bit of a scar, like right here from him. That was like in 1988. You can turn those things into a weapon, and that I will. Like an olive branch, like. I don't know if you've ever seen an olive tree. Like that's not a friendly tree. That's one of the reasons why it's used as a extension. So, I will offer it to the SOL people if they want to come on board, if they want to get in and admit their sins, cleanse their palate, whatever they want to do, get with it. But if you're still clinging to that, no, man, I'm shoving that where the sun don't shine.
Oof. Yeah.
Get away. Stop listening to this podcast if you're an SOL. Go away. Go listen to Pete Bukowski and Locked On Packers. He's probably more your speed.
Yep.
I like Pete, by the way. He's a good dude.
I'm gonna play something. It's gonna take a second to pop up here, but I want to make sure that we get this out there because this was, I think, absolutely what we need, what we saw against the Bears, and what we want to see against the Packers. And I'm just pulling this up blind. It's like a minute long, but it's a Campbell quote. And I don't think it's making it out there for everyone to hear. Okay.
Yeah, I can't hear.
Yeah. So it was the quote about pulling them out to the water, to the depths, and taking them to where they can't swim and holding them down under the water. That's where we are as a team. Yeah. I'll get that in here. I'll make sure I can play it by the time we talk about the Packers. But that quote, I think, is never been more salient and more important than it is right now in the world of the Lions, because I think that that's how this game has got to go and is going to go against the Packers as we go forward. But that's just me.
I love having the opportunity that we've got, and it comes from taking care of business for so long. And yes, Carolina happened, and it sucks, and it's probably going to be the reason why we don't make the playoffs if we don't. But I'm so happy that you just destroyed a bad football team.
Yep.
There was no drama after the first 2 drives of that game. None. It was much like Jacksonville. I started writing the post-game report at halftime. I'm like, there's no way in hell this Bears team's coming back. None.
Yep.
And the good thing is, I said it's okay if I'm cocksure and I'm wrong. It's not if the Lions are. And they handled their business. Like, they knew they were the best, and they took care of it, and they did what they had to do. And that's the sign of a good football. That's the sign of a well-coached football team. And look, we've had a lot of discussion over the past 2 years about the coaching staff and, you know, the nature versus nurture, the in-game versus, you know, Monday through Saturday coaching. I think you're seeing an evolution of what's going on Sundays, that Dan Campbell is getting better, because a year ago, I'm not sure that I would have trusted him to win that game 41-10. I think it would have finished like 30-20 or something like that. But the fact that he didn't take his foot off the gas until it was long done, that's to me, that says that he's learning as he's going along, and that's what we all want.
Yeah.
We want it to work, and I think we're seeing those steps being taken.
Let me see. Okay, I think I've got it right now, and I want to get Strong Bad in here. The last words of the Lions opponents: gurgle, gurgle. Let's see if we can get this to
As it equates to, just bear with me, the ocean, right? There's a number of teams, they just barely get to the water. You got to get in the water to compete. A number of teams, that's all they get to. Then there's a number of teams, they are in the shallows. And they come in a hurry, man, and they are all over your ass.
That's what she said.
They're all over your ass, and they strike and move. They strike and move, and they're dangerous, man.
We can't hear it, Chris.
You just got to get a hold of them, though. If you can just get a hold of them and you start dragging their ass out to the deep, dark abyss, you can drown them. And that's what we got to be. That's who we have to be, because that's our domain. That is our domain. Because we'll tread water as long as it takes to fucking bury you. Yeah. We'll go as long as it takes because we can and we choose to. That's who we are. That's who we have to be. Now, it goes without saying, the teams that are dangerous in the shallows and the abyss are probably the top 4 or 5 in this league. That's who they are. And that's what we're working to.
That's right. What a freaking quote, bro. Nobody goes back to Hard Knocks. Nobody goes back to that, but there it is. That laid out this game this week. And again, I'm so far ahead of where we're at in the show right now. We're talking about the Bears, but it's so hard not to look ahead.
It is. But because we did what we did to the Bears, and just to put a little bow on Chicago, that's a really, really, really bad football team.
Yeah,
that's a team that I think Lions fans recognize as 2019. We're going down, and it's not going to get better before it gets worse. Or it gets worse before it gets better. Said that backwards. Double negative. I'm sorry. My editorial hat has been off today. It's been one. Their offense. So I had this discussion with somebody who covers the Bears Monday morning. And he asked me, from like sincerely, like, who on the Bears offense would play for Detroit? I thought about it for a minute. I'm like, Cole Kmet, good tight end, real good tight end.
Yep.
They don't know what they've got in them. Yep. And I said, Justin Fields wouldn't play on this particular Lions team, but he's good enough that he can play on just about any other team. Because this is Jared Goff's team, and they're built for Goff. They're not built for Fields. I said, that's probably, like, maybe Cody Whitehair if you move him to right guard, maybe. Like, nobody else ever sees on that offense the field in Detroit. Like, David Montgomery is RB3 here.
Mm-hmm.
Braxton Jones is not better than Matt Nelson or Dan Skipper, and he's their best tackle. Like, that's how they have so much to replace. They're again, I told him Tom Kennedy would be your wide receiver 1, and he did not push back on that. That's a really, really, really bad football team, and they just don't have the depth of resources to get better. We'll talk more about their draft chances and the idea of them earning the number 2 pick, and because they don't need a quarterback, trading out of it, which I think we're going to hear a lot of. But that's for down the road. But when you're a team that wants to be where Detroit is going and where we're close to, that's the kind of game you need against a team like the Bears. And that is why I was so happy this weekend. And I'm sure most people who are watching this were very happy about it too. Like, it was a stress-free after the first drives, like you just knew that the Lions had it. It was much like the Jacksonville game. Like, my God, we're good. And by the way, Jacksonville is going to win the AFC South.
Yeah,
they've got it in their hands.
Yep.
They have not lost since we took care of them. So
let me really quick just talk about the Bears game. We'll keep on this a little bit here. First off, 41-10, an absolute beatdown of that team. This is the quietest I've seen Bears fans in my entire life, even after a loss. Like, usually they're just meathead, like loudmouths that come around and try to troll and be, dorks or whatever. Like, even after the first game this season, they're like, well, thanks, we're just tanking so we get, better draft pick. You guys helped. I mean, it was just the dumb and meathead, whatever. They can't lose. They win by losing, whatever, even at that point, right? They were silent. They have been silent all week, and I love it. I love it. Anyway, okay. 3 tutties from Goff. Jamal, 144 yards. FedEx Ground Player of the Week. Congratulations, Jamal Williams. Well deserved. Swift had 78 yards. I mean, remember when you couldn't get a 100-yard rusher in Detroit? We got 200 yards to these guys.
Ran for 256.
Yeah. 4K.
Season high.
First time, I think this is the first time ever, or since a long time ago, that we have over 4,000 yards passing and 2,000 yards rushing in the same season. Holy cow.
It is the first time.
Yeah.
First time.
Yeah. Talk about a Lions team. Talk about, delivering on the promise. That's just beautiful. Hutch, a half sack, another interception. A beautiful one. He's got the softest hands of the team, I swear to God.
There's a lot of JJ Watt going on there.
Yeah, buddy.
And I tweeted it during the game. Like, man, you can put him as your number 3 tight end in a goal line package, or the way Mike Vrabel used to get it when he was in New England.
Yep.
Like, there's a lot of things you can do with that. And I would love for them to use that. Probably not this week. Like, maybe shelve that for next year, but work that in, because he's clearly got good hands and he can get up. 2 of the 3 interceptions he's made, he's been at like full extension. That's impressive.
Let me ask you, there's a question from Daryl Gulp. Can you give us some of your thoughts on the Okudah benching? I didn't notice him playing bad like the previous week. I think it's a little bit still of the lingering illness. Having gotten this sick while I was in Michigan, I literally picked it up on the 17th of December, and I will mute myself and cough still because my lungs aren't right. Just taking the stairs in the house, I'm out of breath still. That was a for real illness that was running around, man.
It is, and like, it's been going around my house. I'm excellent segue there, Chris. For those of you listening to the audio only version, he just coughed like violently on the air. It's going around my family. I'm finally over it. My wife is still fighting it. At some point, we will sleep in the same bed again together when we're not coughing at the same time. But it's been a while. It's nasty. I do think that it's somewhat endurance related. I will say, I just went back and looked. He missed the Thanksgiving game with a concussion and missed most of the Giants game the week before that with a concussion. Since he came back from that, he's not played like full time all the time other than 1 week. And I do think that maybe there's some like lingering conditioning issues. That the illness happened, I think it was week 15.
Yeah.
So that like plays into that. He did not play poorly at all. In fact, I broke this down at Lions where I graded out I did the film breakdown this week on him and Iffy, and I thought Jeff was great in coverage. I did not have him for a single blown coverage, and there were a couple. Like, I think I gave him five or six like pluses in coverage in 17 snaps. Like, he was on in coverage. The very first Justin Fields run, he got his ass blasted and gave up the side, and that's a no-no. He did on the next drive that he played. It wasn't the next drive; it was the drive after that. He got beat on edge contain, where he needed to push in to force the runner to go wide, and he didn't do it. Didn't do a very good job at it. But those were really the only bad plays. So Dan explained it that he wanted to get Mike Hughes more reps. And while I think that's a lot of coach talk, like Mike Hughes did play well. And I'm going to give Dan a little bit of the benefit of the doubt there, that I think that he really sincerely did want to see more of Mike Hughes because Mike Hughes was playing well.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't think that Dan is taking into account the other end of that equation, which means that, oh my God, you just benched your cornerback 1 for most of the season.
Yeah. And
I'm not sure that Dan has processed that part of it. And maybe he doesn't need to. Maybe Jeff's fine with it. Maybe Jeff understands.
Mm-hmm.
We don't know that. We've heard nothing, either publicly or privately, that Jeff is upset or that he's not down with it. So I'm gonna kind of give the team the benefit of the doubt there. But I will say he was not benched for poor. Now Carolina, he was awful. That was a bad game from Okudah, and he will probably tell you that he did not.
The
play
whole team
well
played bad though. I mean, you can't hang that game on him at all, right?
Oh,
he
God,
had to play,
no.
so many players had bad games that day. They all feel bad about it. They all kick their own asses over it, guaranteed. But that's a game you can't hang on any one player. Even just like this last game against the Bears, you can't hang the win on any one player. They played as a unit incredibly well.
Really
I got to say, hey, Tampa, Detroit Lion, how fun is this, guys? It's January 4th, and we're talking about the Lions potentially making the playoffs. Plus, the future is bright with 2 top 20 draft picks. Thanks for the super chat, Tampa. I appreciate you, brother. It is great. Meaningful games
it's a great
in January.
Time to be a Lions. Meaningful games. It's funny. I went to a basketball game last night when my kids weren't playing. I went and saw some of my son's old AAU teammates playing while he was off. And I was talking to a couple of the dads, and they're like, how fun is your job right now? I'm like, it's a hell of a lot better than it has been in a long time. Let me tell you that.
Brother, I'm so excited about potentially doing a post-game show on a playoff game.
I can't even imagine that. Like, we got flexed to primetime. Chris, I despise primetime games from my personal standpoint. I'm in bed by 10 o'clock most nights. Like, the game doesn't get over until 11:30. Like, I'm dying. Sundays are normally an 18 to 20 hour workday for me to begin with. When it stretches like that, like it pushes that clock back, I will not go to bed Sunday night into Monday morning. But when I get up with my kids I'll still be up when they get up. That's just that's my personal sacrifice. I'm happy to make it.
Yeah,
I'm not going to complain about it, but just it's cool that it's finally happening. Because look, I'll real quick diverge into the Browns territory here. When the Browns made the postseason in 2020, and it had been a very long time. It had been since 1994, and the uplifting and the community spirit of that fan base was unreal, and the feelings that were coming out of, and the joy, and then the fact that they went into Pittsburgh and kicked Pittsburgh's ass with 9 guys and their head coach out with COVID in a game that the NFL absolutely should have suspended and postponed. And they went in and kicked, like they dominated Pittsburgh from the very first drive of that game. That's probably the most fun I've ever had working. And I wasn't at the game, but I was covering it, and I just was going crazy. Like this, that's what this week can be like for Detroit. Like, this is a playoff game. You win, you've at least got a shot to get in. We'll know whether they get in or not. Seattle, let's hope they lose. Let's pray they lose. They're very banged up, by the way. If you saw their injury report today, they could lose this game. But that's the kind of excitement that I'm like. We haven't had that in Detroit in a long time.
Mm-hmm.
Where it's like, or if it is, it's fabricated. Like we're trying to pump something up here that just maybe not be there. Trying to get. It's legit. Like this is. I know it's not a playoff game, but it sure feels like one. And it's we're treating it like one. And if you win, you got a shot to keep playing. And if you keep playing, odds are pretty good you're going to play Minnesota. We can beat Minnesota. I'm not scared of them at all.
Nope.
They might be scared of us,
brother. If we make our way into the playoffs, there's only one team in the NFC that really gives me pause, and that's San Francisco. Look, there's. I mean, Dallas is a good team. I think they're beatable. I think anybody is a beatable team by this Lions. I don't think even San Fran is unbeatable, but they're the one that really, really gives me pause as to what will be. Quick question from your Ass Blasted comment, Riz. If somebody watches Ass Blasted 2 without seeing 1, will they miss anything?
I was more a fan of the Taken From Behind series. Taken From Behind 29 is probably the best in that.
All right, so let's talk about this. Also, we're the first team to have 3 different tight ends score 2 touchdowns in a game during a season in NFL history. That's pretty darn interesting too. To have 3 different tight ends score 2 or more touchdowns in a game is killer. So that's
you know what was awesome after the game. Real quick, when Jared Goff is at the podium and he's talking, and he was asked a question about Brock Wright. And while he's answering the question, I've got the Packers-Vikings game on the screen, and TJ Hawkinson dropped a pass while Goff is answering that question.
Yep.
I'm like, that, ladies and gentlemen, that's kismet right there.
That's Komet right there. Sorry, I had to tie it all up. Yeah, no, that was I saw that exact moment during the post game. It was awesome. All right, so let's talk about the playoff path right now. There's a lot to this, and there's basically 4 outcomes. 2 that are, one that's ideal, 2 another one that's good, and then 2 that are negatives. And I'm going to work my way from the worst potential, worst possible up. The worst possible outcome for the Lions is a Rams win and a Lions loss. If we think about that, basically based on strength of schedule, we could wind up with a 9th pick overall out of the Rams if they win this game. So that's kind of a bummer in that place. And if we lose, it's just, that's all on us then. Worst case scenario. Yeah. Second from the bottom, working its way up of the 4 possibilities, is that how do I do this? The Lions lose and the Seattle wins. Yeah, that's what it is. Sorry. Seattle wins and the Lions lose. Okay, well, we kicked ourselves in the teeth. Whatever. Then you go on and you say, okay, the Lions win, but Seattle wins. And it's like, for God's sakes. Okay. But that's good enough. I mean, we held the Packers. We kicked the Packers off. We stole the torch. We'll talk about that a little bit more later. That's good. And of course, the ideal situation is the Rams win and the Lions win. That gives us the very, very best of all worlds. That's basically the playoff breakdown. If the Packers win, they're all in. If the Packers lose, but the Seahawks win, they're in. We're the 3rd down the list. We need 2 teams to lose to get in, and we have control over one of those games. I heard Matthew Stafford and Cooper Kupp are suiting up for the Rams to try to put this. No, I'm just joking. So there it is.
That meme, that quote, whatever the hell is floating around everywhere, it's not real, folks. By the way, check out how they spelled Matthew. That's how they're getting away with it, because it's only 1 T. It's fake. Fake news.
What? Oh.
Sorry.
Oh, Vikings fans were pulled. Brandon, thanks for the info here. And they only 2% wanted to face the Lions. That's probably real.
I would suspect they know we match up well with them. We really do.
Yep. Ooh, if the Lions tie, the Seahawks tie, and Washington beats the Cowboys, we're in. I need some.
That's probably factually true. And I don't want ties suck so bad.
Yeah,
and I don't think that. So Washington, by the way, is starting Sam Howell this week. They gave up. They go in. They put Carson Wentz in a must-win game. He throws 3 interceptions that are progressively worse than the last. Well, Taylor Heineke's sitting there like, what do I do? I'm not. Now they're starting Sam Howell. I hope Sam Howell does well, but I think Dallas is going to win that. Dallas is a very fascinating team. Not to go playoff preview, but I can see them beating anybody, and I can also see them losing to anybody. Depending any given week, they're going to be a very interesting follow in the playoffs.
Even from half to half, they're a different team. Yeah, they are really unique. All right, really quick, let's hit a bit of a somber topic, because it happened and we have to cover it. Damar Hamlin. I think everybody's heard about the hit that he took, the cardiac incident that he had on the field. The latest right now that we've seen come out is, quote, promising readings that they were hoping to see. That's from the doctors. They were really happy about that. There was also clarification. He was only resuscitated once on the field. So that was good news. And then another quote. This is something I think that's a little bit of foreshadowing of what we're hoping to see here. But the quote was, the bounce back from him and his family is going to be incredible. So there's a lot of hope there coming from the hospital and the doctors on Damar Hamlin. That's great news. It has crazy effects, Riz, on playoffs and the football and everything else. And I don't want to ever diminish the player or the person, but these things they have to happen in parallel, right? And it's just there's just so much involved. Even look, there's 105 other players on the two teams who've worked their whole lives to get to this point, and I'm not diminishing what's happened at all, right? But to have that kind of effect as a result of an injury, a very, very serious injury on them. I mean, it's just some of these things just need to kind of happen in parallel. And it's, again, they made the choice as players and coaches for that game. So, that's great. And I think it was the right choice. I think they did the right humanitarian, thing. And that was great. But, there's a lot going on here now that has to be hashed out. The rest of the NFL isn't going to go on hold for a player's injury as serious as it is, right? And that's going to be and it's really interesting.
The thing is it was such a meaningful game. Like, it decides the number one seed in the AFC. And it was a fantastic game. I shared this in the Patreon Slack, which, by the way, is the best place for Lions talk anywhere. Yeah. I have friends that were there. They are a couple. He is a fraternity brother. He was in my pledge class. His wife has been a very good friend of mine for a long time. He's from Buffalo. She's from Cincinnati. They were wearing, the competing jersey. Like, that's fun. They're good people. And she took some video from the stadium, and it's like, there's just like ambient noise in a stadium. Like, you can hear like people talking or whatever.
Yeah. Where there's a crowd.
Dead silence for like 5 minutes. Like, you can hear what's going on the field, and they're in the upper bowl in Cincinnati. Like, it's that quiet, like that it's that stunning. And that moved me. One of the things, and I talked about this, I did I did a show in Cleveland today. We were talking about this. And one of the things that I think it hit those of us who cover the game very hard, because we do see these guys as people. We see their families, and most people don't. Like, we see them playing with their kids. We see them, hanging around with their friends, and see their parents. We see their parents a lot, and a lot of times we meet them and interact with them. And that gives a different viewpoint from those of us who are covering the team like that. And I think that's why you're seeing so much of people like me and people that are, covering these teams so impacted by this, because this is like, we're used to an injury, concussions. They're horrible. We're used to that, though. Like, this, he literally dropped. He was dead on the field, and they revived him from a hit. Like, that's not like Chuck Hughes happened a year before I was born. I'm aware of it. I didn't see it. I don't ever want to see that game, by the way. And that happened at the end of a game when I think that both teams were 3-7 at the time. So it wasn't like it was obviously it's an awful tragedy, but it's like, it's so far out of mind that most of us have never seen that. The closest thing we've probably seen was Reggie Brown.
Think about that. Think about how far we've come since Reggie Brown. I mean, he was dead on the field, and they revived him. And then for folks who don't know and haven't heard, that's the game that Barry Sanders got hit the 2,000 yard mark. Nobody ever talks about that. Nobody ever talks about Reggie.
It put such a huge pall over that game. I remember I watched that game. That was in the period of my life when I was traveling a lot. I watched that game in Midway Airport on a layover.
Wow.
Wow. So I didn't have any audio. So I'm watching with a group of Lions fans. This was 1997, I think it was, wasn't it? Yeah, it was, because I I know where I was going.
Mm-hmm.
But we not having sound, we're like, what's going on? Like,
Mm-hmm.
we get some audio here,
Yeah.
and it was very frustrating. And that's, to not know, it was devastating. And I do think that's why I know there is some complaints out there about the way that the media, and I'll lump myself into that group, has handled this. Understand that we see these guys as a lot more than just players who are out there to amuse us. And I don't think that the general fan appreciates that. Even if you do care, we do see them and get to experience them outside of a football context, and that's
Mm-hmm.
why this hits hard for so many of us. I don't know Damar. I never met him. He was at the combine. He had a podium, and I didn't go to it. And I kind of actually feel kind of bad about that. But that's I love the fact that America is waking up to the fact that, hey, these guys are not just gladiators out there. Are you entertained? Like the
25
toy
years
drive
ago.
that he did. Yeah,
25 years
it's
ago,
very
Reggie Brown
different.
to today. And you look at,
Yeah.
you look at these guys and you look at, what Hamlin's been doing in the charity space, almost as good as us, but it's getting better. I'm teasing. I'm totally teasing. He's been doing great work in the community. He's a great human being by all reports.
He started
right?
that before he was even in the NFL. He started
Yep.
that when he was a senior
Yep.
at Pittsburgh. Like that's the kind of guy he is. That's, I think, one of the reasons why so many people are responding to it. And the fact it did happen in a nationally televised huge game where pretty much everybody was watching. Like I
Yep.
think that's it, it's a very galvanizing moment, I think, for people. And I hope that the sense that we have that, okay, yeah, you might be a Bills fan, you might be a Steelers fan, you might be a Packers fan, you might be a Lions fan. Like, we're all football fans, and this transcends what team you're on. This is about the guys who play the game. And if we as a collective America, I'm using the Vosotros form here of we and us, um, it's all of us, that we realize that, okay, this is why the players, this is why they take time off. This is why they make sure that they're in the best possible shape they can be. This is why some guys walk away early.
Mhm.
This is why some parents don't allow their kids to play football anymore. This is obviously it's a freak injury. It's not something that I think we've seen in a long time. From everything that I understand, and I don't know this because I'm not a cardiologist, but when I was in 8th grade, there was a kid who was in 6th grade who was hit by a pitch in the chest, and it did the same thing to his heart. It messed up the electrical system. He dropped dead on the field. I'll never forget that, and I think that that's sort of what happened here. And the only other thing I'll say about this is please, 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 if you have the opportunity, learn how to do CPR and learn how to use an AED. I took that class. I was bored as hell for 4 hours doing it, but I still, to this day, when I walk into a place, I take note of where the AED is. And I'm like, okay, yeah, it's like an absent-minded thing.
Mhm.
Like when I walk into a gym where my son's going to be playing basketball, my daughter's going to be playing volleyball, I'm like, okay, it's over there if I need it. It's just, I don't know why I do it, but I do. And this is why. So if you have that chance, please, please, please do it. You might save a life, and it might be somebody that you love.
Yep. All right, we're gonna roll on really quick. Just from Brandon, he nailed it. If anyone's ever been down to the Senior Bowl, like we all have, get the sense that you get a sense of the collective brotherhood, even though they're at odds in the competition. You really do.
Oh, yeah.
You start to talk to some of these
Good
guys.
point, Brandon.
They are absolutely brothers across teams, and they play. Between the lines is one thing, outside the lines is something completely different. And I think fans often get lost in that space. But all right, let's move on to draft news. Best of luck to Damar Hamlin and his family. Hopefully everything turns out as great as it could for them. Draft news. The Rams right now, their pick is at number 6. Oh, I'm sorry, that's the Lions pick is at number 6. And again, if the Rams win, that pick could go, I believe it goes up to number 9. Really,
it could go as high as 9. It depends on a couple of other teams' outcomes as well.
But yeah, so the three teams whose outcomes it matters are the Vikings, the Falcons, the Raiders, and Carolina. Carolina is playing New Orleans. That's probably the best chance of one of those teams to have a win. Vegas is playing against Kansas City, and Atlanta is playing against Tampa, which is also actually a little bit of a weird one. I don't see any of those three teams really pulling a win out of that. That just puts us at number 9.
I can't not the Raiders after they did what they did with their quarterback.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
we're going to have to have a conversation. It's not for tonight, but we're going to have a conversation about that because that is not dissimilar to what some fans in Detroit want to do with Jared Goff. Yeah. I think you saw how the Raiders responded to that. I think they're going to get destroyed. I think they're going to lose like 40-10 this week, 41-10 maybe.
Mm-hmm. I want to revisit something that I said a long time ago, and people I want you, every one of you that question this, I want you to write, Chris was right, 100 times. I get the horn this time. What I said for a long time, I mean, I think even ahead of the draft in 2022, the Jared Goff problem was easily solvable by this season. Goff will either win enough games to be the guy, or if he doesn't, you have all the ammo in the draft you need to replace him. And I want to revisit that. And all of you naysayers, tell me I'm wrong. Because even if you didn't like him right now, you have all the draft capital you need or the ammo you need to go get the quarterback you want this year. And he's played extremely well. And for the majority of people, except the perpetual negative Nancy's, he's absolutely won the job. But even if he did what he did this year and people were out on him, we still, with the draft places we are, have the capital to get the player we want if we want to go get somebody else. So I just wanted to revisit that for a moment and say, people, please think these things through and just go with a little bit. You know, sometimes things happen in a way a little different than you might have thought. Yeah. So do we think that Houston coming on so strong and learning this game so well is going to change the idea of what Holmes might take in the top of the draft? I don't think Houston changes the calculus of an edge rusher for the Lions. What about you, Riz?
So let's evaluate what they've got. They've got Aiden Hutchinson, Josh Pascal, James Houston, and the Okudah brothers, and John Kaminsky if he comes back and he sort of plays everywhere. Who are you not bringing back of that group if you draft somebody? The easy answer is Julian Okudah because he's hurt all the time. Mm-hmm. But are you going to draft somebody above Josh Pascal and James Houston, a second-round pick and the rookie sack champion? That's asking a lot. So I don't think that they're going to address it very high. I think they're good enough there with the growth that you're going to experience from Houston, the growth you're going to see from a healthy Pascal, who, by the way, couldn't practice all offseason. Aiden Hutchinson getting another year under his belt, taking the next step up where he's, one of the top 10 for sure pass rushes in the league. I don't think that it's a primary need because, again, then you're saying, okay, my second-year-round pick from last year, who, by the way, has played pretty darn well most of the year, isn't good enough. My sixth-round pick, who's leading all rookies in sacks, isn't good enough. I'm not sure that's an easy sell for anybody in the room who's trying to sell it. And you better believe they're going to discuss it. They discuss all these scenarios. And I think what they're going to come back with is we're probably better off spending that pick on a corner or a safety or a wide receiver even, exactly, or an offensive lineman even, than we are because only 2 or 3 of those guys can play at any one time. Right now, Josh Pascal, James Houston, and Aiden Hutchinson are 3 of your 6 best defensive players that you've got on the field. I don't get that need. So I don't think that they're taking one high. I think they'll take one. And I don't think that Julian Okudah has any chance of coming back. I said it when they drafted James Houston. They're not both making the team. They play the exact same style in the exact same position. I think we've seen now that James Houston is a better, higher-end option than Julian Okudah. So whatever happens there. Do they have to get a replacement for that? Yeah, probably. Can they find that in the 5th, 6th round, 4th round that Julian came in? Can they find that as a free agent that costs, $2 $2.5 million for a year, absolutely. I don't think this is a team that's drafting a pass rusher high. Now that's not defensive tackle, an edge. I don't think that's anywhere close. That might be their least position of need on the entire team. I think they will come to that agreement as well.
Yeah. We've got Daryl Gulp. You nailed it. Riz likes an off-ball linebacker high. I mean, he's actually wanting to take our 2 first-round picks and trade up to try to get
they
to
do
number
need
2.
one. But again, so let's do the math on this again, though. Okay, so Rodrigo playing pretty darn well. Derek Barnes has come along very well. You want to place Alex Anzalone? I'm fine with that. He's played well. He's a free agent. You're bringing in a linebacker to replace Alex Anzalone for all intents and purposes. Alex Anzalone was what, a 4th-round pick?
Yeah.
Was signed for relatively cheap this offseason. Now he turned down more money elsewhere to stay in Detroit, and I think he would probably do that again.
Mm-hmm.
He did not play well against Chicago, but the rest of he's played pretty well overall the second half of the season, specifically since the changes where Pascal came back, Kaminsky got healthy, and Aubrey Pleasant was dismissed. He's been fine. He's not been a problem. So factor that in with the John Dorsey never drafts a linebacker high. The entire Rams contingent, Agnew, Holmes, that group never takes a linebacker. They took one once, Alec Ogletree. He was terrible. They got burned by that, and they learned from it. This I still don't expect. I expect them to take one. I think it's going to be somebody that can turn and run with a tight end and turn and run with a linebacker or a running back that's flexed out a little bit better, because Rodrigo has proven that he can't do that, and he proved that again against Chicago. Rodrigo's great at what he does, but he's limited in what he does. One of the reasons why he fell into the draft where he did. I think Derek Barnes has, when you've got good defensive line in front of him, he's acceptable. When you don't, he's not. So that sort of fixes your problem if you're getting a better defensive tackle. And when you've still got, you've got, I don't think that's a huge priority for them. And I think Anzalone's value to this team is more in leadership. And I think if he's gone, I think they're going to want to replace that leadership with leadership and veteran presence. So it could be a guy, the Saints massive pay dirt with Demario Davis in this exact position 3 or 4 years ago. Demario was a pretty good player, okay player in Cleveland and New York. He went to New Orleans and became an all-pro because he was exactly the right guy for that system. By the way, it's the same system that we're running in Detroit. Demario Davis is not a great player, but he's a smart player. He's a fast player, and he plays that way. If you can get a veteran like that, Devondre Campbell in Green Bay is another great example of a guy that I wanted in Detroit, by the way, and we took Anzalone instead. Made All-Pro last year. Really, really good player who was given up on because Arizona didn't know what the bleep they had with him. They still don't know what the bleep they have with any of their linebackers. They're a stupid, wretched organization. That's why they're going to have a new coach, hopefully. But that's the Lions. This is not a team that values that. They're going to be able to find somebody who's maybe Alex Anzalone at his best, and they'll be able to find that in the 3rd, 4th round. They'll be able to find it in free agency. I really I know is my brand that they're they hate the first round linebackers and the off ball linebackers like that, but Brad Holmes and John Dorsey and Chris Spielman and Ray Agnew, they're kind of in line with that. That's what they do.
All right,
there's my diatribe done.
There
you go. Friendly done.
I'm still one of the things that we're going to see happen with the Lions that people aren't used to is good players are going to be cut. And that's such great news because that's what happens when you're a good team and you cut good players. And teams like, the old Lions sign all the ex-castaways from the Jaguars. God,
remember the Jonathan Hankins crap. Oh, we got to get him. He's going to save our team.
Yep.
Every bleeping safety that got cut from 2008 to 2017, we got to sign him. He's our best safety.
That being said,
I'm glad those days are gone.
I think defensive tackle is a big point of need for this team. And I think we will pick a tackle, and I think we will find some people that in that group that we've talked about that may have to go, and that's okay. That's okay. I think cornerback is also a huge need. I really believe that those are the two places that Holmes is going to go in the first round, and look, love Jerry, love Okudah. They're both great guys, both grinders. They're both really, really good. But even as a depth piece, or even to move one of them as a depth piece to help cover, the players get hurt, especially at the cornerback position. But they get hurt. They miss games. You need almost a rotation of cornerbacks in the NFL today. That's what you're facing. I see the two picks being absolutely in that defensive tackle and that cornerback space. If they may go safety again, right? Because look what happens with injuries, right? They happen, and these
look
are some
at how
of the
much
most
they've missed
important.
Deshaun Elliott.
Yep, some of the most important players on the field that were game changing. The Detroit Lions changed the games they won. Their record changed from 1-6 to 6-1 and 6-2. Why? Because of the defense. Because of the defense and the play of the defense. That's what it turned on, and that's what's good. This team is going to build up, and that's what they need to do. That's where we're going to spend our picks. That's kind of where I'm at. And I'm okay with
it. If it's not Jalen Carter, I have no interest in a defensive tackle before about the third round.
Interesting.
And it's a good year to need one. The dude from Baylor, dude from USC who just declared, his name I can't pronounce to save my life. There's a lot of good ones this year.
Yep.
It's a great free agency class. Daron Payne, Javon Hargrave, Matt Ioannidis. There's a lot of guys who fit what the Lions want in a defensive tackle to play next to Aleem McNeil, and between Aleem and Hutch, and between Aleem and Pascal on the other side. There's a lot of dudes out there, man. Don't just zero in on Jalen Carter. Who's admittedly great, although Ohio State completely erased him from the bleeping field.
But don't forget, Hutchinson was erased from the field by Georgia, right? So it's one game.
That's why you do that. That's why you don't scout one game.
Exactly. Watch the body of work, the entire body of work, and understand what kind of
Jalen Carter will be the number one player on my board. I don't care what position it is. I don't care who else. I'm not done by any means watching these people. I've watched a lot of Carter, enough to know I think he can be Ndamukong Suh 2.0, and that would be very nice in Detroit. But I want, so one of the things that we're talking about in our little draft chats that we have going on behind the lines is, where do you put a guy like that? Because he's obviously a great player, but it's a position that you generally don't get bang for your buck unless you're getting Aaron Donald or Ndamukong Suh. Mm-hmm. You don't really get your bang for, like Derek Brown from the Panthers is a great example. He was number 7 pick. He's a very good player. Mm-hmm. Very good player. He has the same amount of sacks as Isaiah Buggs this year. Like, are you really getting your impact from that?
So Mike's asking about AR-15, Anthony Richardson, and yes, absolutely, that's the same thing about watching the entirety of their body of work. I've watched every snap of AR-15 this year. Every single snap that he played, I watched. My son goes to Florida. It's why I watched. I tuned in tight to their games this year. He's got some real big time plays, but he's got just as many or more that are just like, oof. And I'm not. Look, he may develop into something, but I don't put first round pick on him at all. I don't put a first round pick. I would take
him in the first round. We'll be able to talk about who. Yep.
And there's time.
Is behind Goff and next year.
There's no to be a thing. Yeah.
There's no chance in the world Jared Goff is not the starting quarterback in 2023.
Right.
But you do have to do better than Nate Sudfeld or Tim Boyle as the backup. And this is a golden opportunity to do that. And my position, I will reiterate it. Why not draft the best possible quarterback that you can? As a developmental piece, and you can possibly flip him later if you decide that Goff is still the guy. Or B, if Goff gets hurt, this is a playoff team. You don't want to throw Tim Boyle or Nate Sudfeld or David Blau out there. You want a guy that can actually win you games. And that's why you take a quarterback high in this draft, regardless of how you feel about Jared Goff. You have to have a quarterback, a viable quarterback number 2. I don't want to pay a veteran for that. I'd much rather develop my own and pick my own guy, get him into my system, see how he fits with Ben Johnson. So I will continue to advocate that they should take a first-round quarterback that is independent of my feelings for Jared Goff. This is a team that desperately needs a quarterback behind Goff.
Sure. Yep.
Why not get a good one? Why pay for Case Keenum? Why pay for Taylor Heineke when you can get? You're probably not going to get Stroud. You're probably not going to get Bryce Young. Those seem high in the sky now. I think Will Levis will probably be gone too. But if you can get Anthony Richardson, you can get Max Duggan in the 3rd, 4th round. I think you saw against Michigan his highs and lows. He's going to miss some throws. He's also got massive testicular fortitude that can win you games that you shouldn't win. You saw that with TCU against Michigan. Was TCU the better team? Hell no. Did they have the better quarterback that night? Yeah, they did. And there's guys like that. Hendon Hooker coming back. He's a little old. It wouldn't be my personal choice, but I understand the argument for it. Again, I will bring up the fact they went to Shepherdsville, West Virginia, to watch Tyson Bagent play in person twice. I have no idea how they feel. When you're going to West Virginia twice to see a dude, that shows you some interest in the player. We're going to see him in Mobile at the Senior Bowl. We'll see what it's all about. Again, I've still only seen one game of his. There's a lot of that, like 3rd to 6th round quarterbacks in this class. What I actually kind of like that in this class, and we're going to be seeing a lot of that. So whether they take it early or late, I will be. What's the proper word? It's beyond disappointed, but not aghast. Like somewhere in that range, if they don't take a quarterback in this draft at some point.
Yep.
And I would still advocate the higher the better, but I understand it's not going to be necessarily a popular position.
Yeah, I see Brad Holmes picking up a veteran in for a good price, because he's pretty good at his contracts and on the people he picks up in free agency, and drafting a quarterback later. There you go.
See, the thing that worries me though is that he wanted Tim Boyle, and Tim Boyle sucked. Like everybody saw it. I don't get that. That's where I don't want to pay for Tim Boyle again.
No,
like
I don't think you will. I think the Tim Boyle play was
maybe you bring Josh Dobbs back after. By the way, Josh Dobbs looked all right, didn't he, in Tennessee last week? Good for him. Get another shot with him this weekend. I hope he can come back.
I think you'll see. Tim Boyle, I think, was as a play more to solidify Jared Goff, because they had to fix Goff post McVay. I think that's exactly what that was.
That's fair. I think that's fair.
It was a Goff play. It had nothing to do with who the backup was and everything else. But they also knew if Goff didn't perform. I mean, we talked about it. If he didn't perform this year, what I said was he was the truth of how this team was looking at it. Their bet was, if he's the guy, he'll perform and he'll do well and he'll be your guy. If he's not the guy this year, then you're going to know it and you'll have the ammo you need to get your guy this year. That's exactly what I think they were playing it, and they were giving Goff every single piece to prove that they believed in him and that they weren't McVay, and that they were giving him the real opportunity to be who he is. And he's looked great, and you see the confidence that he's had. I love how he's talked to the media and how he's dealt with the media in these last couple of weeks. There's a swagger that he's gotten back, and a confidence.
You can see it if you watch the press conferences, can't you? You can. There's a different feel to him.
Yep. And I think this was all part of the thing. This was all part of the plan, and that's why Boyle was here. I guarantee that's why he was here. He was not here to be your quarterback. He was here to be, or he was not here to be your backup. He was here to fortify your guy to see if he's your guy for real. And I think so. That's why I think you're going to wind up with a veteran this year at a good price tag, and you're going to get a 4th rounder or something like that. And that's what your development quarterback's going to be, because I think they know they've got Goff for about 3 years. And they're not looking at who is replacing.
He's under contract through 2024. Yeah. They're not going to extend him this offseason. That's nope. I know people are talking about that. I don't think that conversation even comes up, to be frank.
Yeah, I don't know.
I think that's a conversation you have at this date next year in 20. It'll be 20. It's 2023 now, right?
Yeah.
Right. I haven't had to write a check
Riz
yet.
lost a year.
2024, early January is when we'll be talking about whether they want to extend Goff or whether they have to, whether it's a guy that they just drafted this year or that they're looking at next year. That's when that conversation takes place, not this year.
Yep. All right, let's move on. I think we got the draft covered. Look, we're not even into the draft yet. The draft is coming, but there's a lot to talk about. And I will reiterate, we will have the best draft coverage of any outlet in Detroit this year. We've got some top people. We got Bischoff, we got Riz, we got myself, we got Sandman and Colin coming to. We're all going to Senior Bowl. We're going to run that place. I got some really, really good ideas. As a matter of fact, if you're here with us right now, make sure you like and subscribe. The like helps this video get out, helps other people find it, helps us get into other people's ear holes, and we appreciate and eye holes. Appreciate you doing that and helping us out by doing that. If you're watching it, just hit the like button. It's free and it's easy. But the subscribe thing, it's every year the most important time to be subscribed to our channel is during Senior Bowl, because when we do our interviews with players and coaches and everybody else, we usually have like 5 or 10 minutes notice before we go live with them. So get in there, get the subscription in there so you know when we go live, because we're going to have a ton of people on the show this year live from Senior Bowl. We're going to have a bunch of content from the field. You guys are going to really be excited by some of the stuff I'm putting together here. Riz doesn't even know about it yet, but we got some really great stuff that I have ideas and stuff that I put together as to how we'll cover this year. And we're going to be the blob.
We've got better connections with some people too. We're gonna lean on those. By the way, I'm going to be on with Dave Schultz on Friday.
I've already got him signed up. I've got him signed up
nice.
for us as Senior Bowl too. We are going to be like the blob. We are going to flow across the entirety of the Senior Bowl. We will be everywhere. I guarantee it. You guys are going to be loving it. So let's get that subscription in so you can watch the show. We can make sure you're notified about all that stuff. All right. Let's talk about the Lions. What this season really has been. Here we are. You went 1-6. You had all that stuff going on. And we turned it around. We're an 8-8 team right now. We need to win this Green Bay game, so I win my bet for the Lions having a positive record this year. But there's something that's a really, really important stat that I want to put out there. The Lions have only played a single team all season, one team only, that was not in playoff contention in Week 17. Think about what kind of a stiff schedule that is to play playoff contenders at the end of the year for every game of the season. Ours was the third most difficult schedule in the NFL this year. The worst was the Bears, and I forget who else had the
and the Bears get that because they played us. Twice.
That's right. But and Washington was the other one who had a big strength of schedule. But look, they've played Washington. Look who's in their division. They played Philly twice.
Every other team made the playoffs.
Yeah, New York twice and Dallas twice. I mean, that sucks. But we legitimately played the third most difficult strength of schedule. All those teams in playoff contention, and yet here we are. This young team who everyone said was going to have 6. Not everyone, but generally the consensus was this is a 6-win team if this is a successful season. And here we are sitting at 8. Looking at potentially 9 wins this season, a run into playoffs, and this kind of a difficult schedule. I want people to really appreciate what this team has overcome to get to this point this season. This was no cakewalk last place team schedule. It's crazy if you think about it. We were supposed to have, they get the last place team schedule, supposed to be the easier schedule. We got one of the most difficult schedules in the league, and here we are facing a shot at the playoffs in the second year of our rebuild. I'm just like, the more I think about what they've overcome as a team to get here, the more impressed I am with every one of these guys and this coaching staff to have gotten them coached up and gotten them ready to be here where they are today.
The player development, both skill wise and also NFL maturity wise, has been a lot of fun to watch, because look, Aiden Hutchinson was pretty dang good coming in. Look how much better he is now. James Houston, to go back to why I dissed him infamously a few weeks ago. Training camp, he couldn't beat Darren Paulo around the edge. And now he's beaten all pro left tackles in the NFL. He threw Braxton Jones into Justin Fields for a sack. Like, that's the growth and the maturity with that. Like, you're seeing Kirby Joseph is a much better player now. Look at all the guys that have grown. Like, that's just so awesome. And it really, even though it's the same people on the team, it's a much different team than they were when they were 1-6.
Oh yeah.
And a lot of the credit goes to Dan and the assistant coaches, and also just like the belief that they got. You know, we talk about this all the time. Brad and Dan both independently used the phrase "cut from the same cloth" without ever knowing each other. Like, that was something that they did, and they've woven that together. And they sewed in guys who were cut from the cloth. They have a very good feel for who is and who is not. And man, that's dangerous. And the fact that, as we talk about this, like we got a real shot at the playoffs this year. This is probably the worst Lions team you're going to see till like 2025, 2026, maybe longer.
Yeah.
Like, this is the worst team we're going to have for a while. And we're pretty good. Like, how nice is that?
For a moment. Let me just relish in that for one moment, please.
Obviously, like freakish things, health or whatever can stymie you, but like this is a very young team, and they're growing together better.
Yep.
I think the coaching staff will be back largely intact, and it's interesting now. So all the hot coaching candidate things are coming out now, because we kind of know where the coaching openings are going to be. And I've read 3 different ones from 3 different teams now, and they're all from different outlets. They're like, we deserve to interview Ben Johnson to pick his brain, but he doesn't have the experience. And they actually kind of think that he's sort of a product of Detroit and the environment that he's in. That he's going to get interviewed but not get hired. Like, you're seeing Shane Steichen as the hot offensive coordinator. D'Amico Ryans out of San Francisco, who, by the way, deserves it. I pray to God he gets he's an awesome dude. He's who I wanted as a defensive coordinator. When Patricia came to town, he looked the other way, at his detriment. He's going to be a head coach from the defensive side. And those are your hot assistant coaching candidates. It sounds like everything out of Carolina is they're not taking a rookie coach. They want somebody who's been there before, because if they don't hire Steve Wilkes, because Matt Rule was just, they're not doing that again.
Can't put that
Harbaugh's going to probably wind up somewhere. Who knows? I don't even want to get into that, but it sounds like he's at least playing it off very well to get more money out of Michigan, which he seems to do every year. The more things come out like that, and not that I didn't trust you, Chris, but the more I'm like, yeah, he ain't going nowhere.
I told you.
I still maintain that if there's a Lions coach right now that's going somewhere, it's Deuce Staley as a head coach. Because 100%. Again, we talked about this last week. They're absolutely grooming him to be a head coach, and he's got a lot of things in his favor. The fact that he did coach at the Senior Bowl last year, the fact that he played, the fact that he was known when he played as a good leader, the fact that he's a very organized guy. That's one of the things that we took away from getting to be around him last year at the Senior Bowl. Like, he understands how to run a meeting. He understands how to run a defensive meeting. He understands how to coordinate different. Like, he's got that. So I think that's going to be a big feather in his cap. But I do think that he's going to get a job. I hope he gets a job. I'm rooting for Deuce. I love the guy. Yep. I hope he gets one. I think if you're looking at a Lions coach that's going to get replaced, it will be Deuce. And we've talked about this. Assistant head coach is a fantastic chip to give to Kelvin Shepard or to Ben Johnson to keep them just in case.
You hold that chip. You won't need it this year. I'm telling you, these guys.
I tend to agree.
There's Ben Johnson is in his dream job. And there's just, it's not even about, and I see Don saying, hey, it's about the network. No, it isn't. The network is built. These guys all know each other. I'm telling you right now, they all know each other. It's not a network issue. It's just where they are. I know how much Ben loves what he's doing today. I haven't talked to him personally, but I don't know if he has aspirations for a head coaching position one of the things you have to think about, and just kind of put your own kind of paw on it, take your own kind of thinking of what you've seen. How much Ben Johnson did you see on Hard Knocks?
Not a lot.
He didn't. Why? Ask yourself. Or why is he, he'll do some podium stuff now. Why do you never see Ben Johnson?
He has to.
All right. Well, you don't see him any other times. Why? Because he probably doesn't like that part of it. If you're the head coach, that's the biggest part of your job. And besides winning is getting in front of the media every single day, doing the PR stuff, you have to be out and do so many things that aren't coaching and aren't dreaming up new plays and aren't the creative spot of doing your job. There's a lot of people who really, really love what they do and don't necessarily want to go out. Now, he wants to make money. Don't get me wrong, but there's ways to do that. There's all kinds of ways to make that happen. And you don't have to do it with the assistant head coach position either. You can build big contracts, and the titles I don't think mean as much to someone like him, and you keep that assistant head coach title for the guy who you are truly grooming to leave, right? Because that's what you're doing with this team, and that's what this whole idea of servant leadership and how they work is to help people become the very, very best they will be and allow them to move on to be the best they can be. But in every organization, it's great to have people who love what they're doing and who are really, really good at that. And I just my take on where Ben is he loves his job. He loves what he's doing. He has ultimate creative ability to make these things happen. He's working with a great mind in Dan Campbell. He's working with a quarterback he loves in Jared Goff, who's able to execute what they have. What better situation? I mean, you think of your job. And you love the people you work with. You love what you're doing. Somebody else offers you a little bit more, but it's a lot more responsibility, and and maybe it's more money, even a lot more money, but you're pretty comfortable where you're at, and you really, really like what you do, and you really never wanted to do that other thing. Do you automatically just jump and go? I don't know.
I'm glad you brought up the Goff aspect of that, because he's got that symbiosis of mindset with Goff, and that's, if you go to Carolina, like, who's going to be their quarterback next year? You don't know. It doesn't mean that he can't work with them, but you're going into a situation where it's unknown. Denver, I think, I don't think anybody wants to work with Russell Wilson. I think that's job repellent. That's a job you take if you can't get any other job and know you can't get another job.
Yep.
And what are the ones that are going to be open? Maybe Arizona, probably not, because I don't think their owner's going to do that. Maybe Washington, maybe. Who knows what's going on?
I don't know that anybody wants to be in Houston or Washington. I think ownership in both
with
those
the ownership in those two
Yep.
cities, those are you. I will tell you that if DeMeco Ryans is not the next head coach of the Texans if they get rid of Lovie Smith, it's because he is acutely aware of ownership there, because he played there for a long time, and he wants no part of that. They not to go back to the whole, sell the team crap, but if you're still clinging to that, just look at what's going on in Washington. Look what's going on in Houston. Look what's going on in Cleveland now. Look what's going on in Chicago. Like, ownership is not a problem in Detroit.
No.
If you still think that, again, stop watching this podcast. It's not for you. Go somewhere else. Go away.
Really quick, Jordy, Ben Johnson can be like Hank Fraley, the same position forever. I want just Detroit Lions, if you're listening, I want you to give him the run game coordinator title this year and all the money that goes with it, because you need to keep that man. I
want him to get the title that our friend Owen Reese had, the director of run establishment.
Okay. You can throw that one in there too.
At the University of Wisconsin Whitewater, that's my good friend Owen Reese.
I will tell you that we saw Hank Fraley the first time in 2019 at the Senior Bowl.
Yep.
And immediately it was the first day watching him work with those kids was incredible. And we instantly, it was like Sandman and I were sitting together. You were running around probably with Owen, and Sandman and I were sitting there. Look at him. And when you came back, it was like, Riz, check this out. And we were just in there, and we were like, holy cow, this guy knows how to work. Look at him in there with those guys. And immediately we could tell that Hank Fraley was the guy, and he has absolutely been the guy. And I am so excited that we've kept him. They need to give him the titles, give him the growth opportunities to make sure that he stays happy, that he gets the money that he deserves, and he can grow too. But he's a guy. He's one of those guys that's such a key player. He's in there with Ben. I mean, he's working it with Ben and Jared and all that. He's a key part of that offense. He's basically the run game coordinator now anyway. So just give him the title and the money. Anyway, that's it. And last piece I'll give you guys out there, and you can say it's something else, but I don't think it's something else. There's a guy who everybody thought should be a head coach and have an opportunity, and it's Eric Bieniemy, right? He's a super, super talented cat, and I don't think any team doesn't hire anybody that's super talented because they want to win. They'll hire anybody if they win. So I don't know that there's another reason.
He's been Andy Reid's right-hand man and running that offense and showing some creative flair within that being under Andy Reid's umbrella. It's that's one you'll start hearing it when the hiring starts getting announced and he doesn't get hired again. And that's just the way it is. Again, I will reiterate though, being a good coordinator does not in any way qualify you to be a good head coach. And the NFL has caught on to that as well. You've got to have the organizational, the leadership, the player development, the eyes for how to run an organization, management skills. There's a whole lot that goes beyond that. And I'll leave Houston out of this. Most places have figured that out by now. And that's why you're seeing guys that maybe aren't like the hottest candidate. Ben Johnson might fit into that category as a guy who's like, okay, we're gonna pick his brain. We're gonna see what he likes offensively. We're gonna have him evaluate our team free. That happens. You better believe that happens. That's how Mike Tomlin, along with the Rooney Rule, got his foot in at Pittsburgh. Was that he told them, "This is what I would do with your defense," and they're like, yeah, give me that. Like, okay.
All right. So
that's how those things happen. John Harbaugh was a special teams coordinator. For my money, he's probably the best outside of Bill Belichick, the best head coach in football. And I will just parenthetically add, his in-game coaching decisions have directly cost Baltimore 2 years, and possibly 3. And so don't get too hard on Dan Campbell because even the best screw it up. But he was a guy, was not really like the top candidate when Baltimore was looking, but his ability to show, okay, because I work with special teams, I know your offense, I know your defense, I know your personnel really well. He went in and explained, this is what I would do with your team. And they're like, yeah, do that. Here you go. Here's the keys. Do it. And that's the kind of guy that the NFL is looking for now, much more than the hot shot offensive or defensive coordinator. I bring up D'Amico, and I think he's going to get it because he has shown that he can do a variety of different things. He's coached every position on the defense. When he was a player, he was a captain in his second year on a damn good defense. Like he's got that sort of buildup. I see Kelvin Shepard following along in those steps, by the way. Yep. I think we're not going to have Kelvin for very long. And let's enjoy him while we've got him because he has done a great job with developing Rodrigo and Barnes.
I think there's
Anzalone.
There's going to be opportunities for him here. I think there will be, and I think you like.
I agree
too, but we'll see. Yeah. Really quick, let's get towards the upcoming game, and we have Tram 3. Didn't Goff beat Green Bay in Green Bay in the NFC Championship game a few years ago? But no one's talking about it this week. That's absolutely right. That's absolutely right. Goff can do this. He's done it, and the cold game thing and all that. I don't even talk about it because it's such a silly thing. But let's get it first. Let's start the injury report. Let's do the injury
report. Pull up the Goff thing. You do the injury report while I look up Goff here.
So first off, Deshaun Elliott, he is limited practice today. He is back on the practice field. That really tells me, and especially with his social media posts saying, you really think I was going to miss this? I really think Deshaun Elliott's back, and he is needed. We need him so bad in that safety position. He adds so much to the defense. So Deshaun Elliott coming back sounds really good. Evan Brown, limited practice. It smells good for him coming back as well. Justin Jackson, full practice. That's great news to have him back. And Ragnow did not practice. No big deal. He never does until right by game day. And
yeah, he'll be limited on Friday and he'll play.
And Kabinda is no practice. I don't know that we need Kabinda. I don't think he's a big loss. The real thing about this I want to take away, and this is from the Slack, and I think it was Wisco I got to give credit for this. When you look at this injury report, this looks like a week 1 or week 2 injury report for the Lions. We are in great shape from an injury position. I mean, it doesn't mean that Deshaun Elliott isn't still dinged up a little. Everybody plays dinged up this time of the year. But to have an injury report that looks like this in week 18 is such great news. And I want to harken back to one other thing that nobody's really kind of talked about this year. And I think it's been, everyone talked about early, and then after it passed, everyone kind of just instantly forgot that it was a thing. Our bye week was week 6. We've played for 11 straight weeks without a break, this team coming into this game. That's pretty freaking crazy, bro. That many weeks and to be this healthy for this team. No one's talking about this. Everyone's like, the bye week's early. And then it happens and no one remembers. Yeah, it has an effect. These guys have been grinding. We talk about strength and conditioning for this team and what's happened. It seems like there's definitely been a change this year in this team's strength and conditioning and their ability to stay healthy. There's something that people haven't talked about. They kind of follow the injury report, say, hey, it looks good this week. Hey, we're looking good. We haven't had a bye week in forever. This is really, really good news, not just from the health of the players. When Coach was talking about in Hard Knocks, talking about the players and hitting each other and saying, we do this to prevent injury. We do this because we care. We know it's hard. We're starting to see the fruits of that, guys, gals. We're starting to see the fruits of what that whole concept that came out of Coach Campbell was as to what he was trying to accomplish and what he wanted from this team coming into this season and keeping them healthy. And this is excellent. This is just great news across the board. Again, we talk about development of players, but the change in how these players have been able to stay healthy and how they've been able to do it with no bye week for so long is absolutely not been talked about anywhere in the media that I've seen. It's really, really important. Okay, so here we go. Let's line up for let's line up for the Packers game. Riz, I want to go back and I want to replay the quote from Coach, that because this just sets up the whole conversation so well. The quote from Coach ahead of the season, he did this talk about the abyss on Hard Knocks, and I want us to hear it one more time before we start talking about this game against the Green Bay Packers.
All right, now, there's a number of teams as it equates to, just bear with me, the ocean, right? There's a number of teams, they just barely get to the water. You got to get in the water to compete. A number of teams, that's all they get to. Then there's a number of teams, they are in the shallows. And they come in a hurry, man, and they are all over your ass. They're all over your ass, and they strike and move. They strike and move, and they're dangerous, man. You just got to get a hold of them, though. If you can just get a hold of them and you start dragging their ass out to the deep, dark abyss, you can drown them. And that's what we got to be. That's who we have to be, because that's our domain.
Love the cello.
That is our domain. Because we'll tread water as long as it takes to fucking bury you. We'll go as long as it takes because we can and we choose to. That's who we are. That's who we have to be. Now, it goes without saying, the teams that are dangerous in the shallows and the abyss are probably the top 4 or 5 in this league. That's who they are. And that's what we're working to.
That's what we're working to. And here we are. I'm going to turn that into the biggest hype audio you folks have ever seen. I'm telling you, you just wait. But this is it. This is the setup for the game against the Green Bay Packers at Lambeau Field. Final game of the season. Winner potentially goes to the playoffs. Detroit Lions here to take the torch out, to seize the torch from Aaron Rodgers' hands and take this dynasty turn, take this franchise turn, take it away from Green Bay and put the Lions flag at the top of the NFC North. That's what this game means. And this is incredible to be the very last game of the NFL season. The last game before the playoffs start is for all the marbles. And I don't care if Seattle wins or loses. This game is for all the marbles in our division and the future of this team and what it is. It means everything. Woo! I'm freaking stoked, brother.
Yeah. So while you were having fun with this, and I enjoyed that very much, by the way, Chris, I look back at Jared Goff's playoffs. He's played the Packers once in the postseason. It was his last game in a Rams uniform. They lost 32-18 in the NFC Championship game or divisional round. No, I don't know when. Saturday, January 16th, 2021. Jared Goff went into Green Bay. They lost. He completed 21 of 27 passes for 174 yards and a touchdown, was sacked 4 times, had a QB rating of 105.9, did run for a first down as well. Josh Reynolds and Robert Woods were his top receivers in that game. Van Jefferson had a heck of a game. You might remember this game. Rodgers was darn near perfect. Threw for 296 yards, 2 touchdowns. They got 99 yards from Aaron Jones. They got 65 more from Jamal Williams, and they also won the penalty battle. There's just no running there for the Rams. So he played well in that game. I remember when we first got Goff talking about that game, like the last impression of him was pretty good. Like nobody in Los Angeles blames Jared Goff for that loss. The game that I think people are thinking of where he won in New Orleans in what was Drew Brees' last football game ever. And he played great in that game. The next week he played in the Super Bowl in New England, did not play well in that game.
Was that New Orleans game the game where with the pass interference call that we saw in New Orleans airport? We had to skedaddle out there.
No, that was Minnesota against them a week before.
Okay.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah, we'll never forget that one. Oh my God, that was wild. Yeah. So Goff in his postseason is 3-3. I'm actually going to write this for Lions Wire. Thank you for the ideas here, folks. Appreciate that. In his career, 57.3 completion percentage, 1,300 yards, 4 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. Has been sacked 14 times. This is in 6 games. Has a career yards per attempt average of 6.6 in the postseason. Real quick, I think that's right around his career average in the regular season too. It would be no, he's at 7.4 overall. By the way, 7.6 this year. That's pretty good. It's a full yard better than it was last year. Average yards per attempt is up to 8.1 this year. Last year was 6.6. He's played well in the postseason, not all the time, and other than the game that he lost against the Packers, he's never really been the reason why his team won or lost in a playoff game. He's been fine outside. I don't really get the whole I don't think people have ever been to San Francisco or Berkeley. Like it gets cold there. Like they have crappy weather up there. This isn't Sam Darnold playing in SoCal his entire life. Or Vince Young never seeing snow until he was 25 years old. Like this isn't that guy.
All right, let's look into this. We are 1 win away from the first winning record since 2017 for this team. And when I talk about wanting so badly to be able to do a post-game show for a playoff win, last playoff appearance was 2014, or playoff game. Last playoff appearance was 2014. We started the podcast in the spring after that. So the entirety, is it our fault? The entirety of the drought has been while we've done this show. And I am so excited about that. Oh, okay. So let's talk about
like the playoffs, man. I've been blessed. I got to cover the Browns when they did their playoff run in 2020. I got to cover the Texans when they did their run. Unfortunately, they had the massive loss after they were blowing out Kansas City. But yeah, it's just different. It's so much fun. I think we've forgotten as fans how much fun being in a postseason game is. Even if you do not have expectations of winning, And by the way, I think if the Lions get in this, they're playing as well as anybody in the NFC right now. And if they beat the Packers in Green Bay to get there, they're not going to go away easy. They might not be expected to win, but they're certainly not going to be a team that America is going to look at the Detroit Lions and think, man, they've played really good football lately. They got a shot at this.
If the Lions beat the Packers, they become the underdog darlings for sure. Everyone is going to harken back
like
to the New York
Bengals
Giants
were last year.
Everyone's going to harken back to the Giants.
That Cincinnati did it a year ago. Yep.
Yeah. It's going to be very much it's the story of rebirth. It's going to be so great. And look, here's one thing I want to prepare people for it, and I'm not putting anything out there, but if they don't win this game, it doesn't mean that all of those things aren't still true and that the torch hasn't passed and next year's not going to be different, because I think everybody knows that Green Bay is going to lose in the playoffs relatively early again. They're just not that team, right? It's their MO. They get in and they're
playing better lately for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Give them their credit.
But they always do at the end of the year. They always RELAX, right? The whole thing every year. Oh, I got to run the table. Oh yeah, things came together. Okay, cool. Happens every time. Whatever. That's it. But I am so excited about this team where we are right now. Remember this moment. Just no matter what happens this game, remember this moment and how much fun you're having with the team, how much joy they've brought to your life, and compare it to a year and a half ago. Remember when we fired Matt Patricia 2 years ago? Remember what you felt then versus what you feel right now about this team as a fan. And I think you'll see a significant difference, but you'll see that trajectory is in the right space. I want this team to win. I expect them to win. It's not going to be an easy game. There's a lot that they have to overcome to pull this off, but they have it in them. And man, oh man, if they do. All right, let's talk about it. The Packers O-line, really, really strong. They've got a strong offensive line. I'll say strong. I'm not going to say great. They're very good, right? They've got really strong wide receivers. Christian Watson's their top, but we know he can be a dropper, but he's come on. He's been able to hold on to the balls. It is going to be cold, so we'll see how that works for him. But Rodgers obviously is the key to everything. If he starts, he's always dangerous to the very, very end, right? He's always dangerous to the very end, but you can get in his head. You can break Aaron Rodgers, and we've seen it. Last year, after a half, they broke him, and they turned around and said, oh, well, we're just resting our guys for the second half of the game. And they got stomped the next week and tossed from the playoffs because they knew they were really humiliated by the Lions, and they just had excuses as to why they weren't. We have to contain him, and in containing him, can we cover? And that, I think, is going to be the biggest area, the biggest gap for us, because I'm really nervous about Okudah and Jerry against these wideouts, because these are good guys in Watson and Lazard, Cobb also, all running low 70s PFF scores. Good wide receivers, and of course Aaron Rodgers is a great quarterback. We just have to be able to stack up against him, and I'm worried. Our guys are going to need help. That's why Deshaun Elliott coming back is one of the big things. Having Kirby able to be
very nice, because if he plays, that helps against Aaron Jones. And when Aaron Jones is going off, and he's played really well lately as their running back, and I don't think he gets enough credit around the league. He's a very, very good running back. He is capable of ruining your day on his own, even if Aaron Rodgers isn't. Aaron Jones can destroy you. And Deshaun Elliott coming back helps mitigate that. And I really hope that happens, because the Lions do pretty well against one-handed teams. Chicago obviously couldn't throw the ball. Their wide receivers are trash.
Yep.
And they couldn't protect Justin Fields. If Aaron Rodgers, if he can like give the ball to Aaron Jones and they run, and then he's got the ability to pass it, that's a tall order for this young defense. Yep. They can do it. They're up for it.
They did it earlier in the season.
That's asking a hell of a lot, man. So the ability to shut down the run, I think, will be very critical there, because then you're asking Aaron Rodgers to be in 2nd and 9, 3rd and 8. Maybe there's a holding penalty that says 3rd and 12, things like that.
Yep.
That's how you beat them. And you get your defense off the field. You make a play. You get a strip sack.
Yep.
They haven't seen James Houston yet. He didn't play in the first game.
Yeah.
They haven't seen this new look Lions defense. That's actually where the defense really started to play well was that week and the game before it. Like we held them to 9 last time. Now they are playing much better since then. They're healthier than they were then. But the Lions, they have the ability to go in and win this game with their defense. But like Dan loves to talk about complementary football. You've got to have that to win this game. Your offense has to have at least its B game. Your defense has to have at least its B game, and your special teams has to beat their special teams.
Yep.
And look at their special teams, what they did last week. That game broke open on that kick return.
Yep. All right.
Obviously, Minnesota gave up after that, but it's not going to be easy, but it's certainly doable based on how we're playing right now.
So, Chris and Jeff, which team of the Lions played this year that's closest to what they might face with Green Bay? It's Green Bay, brother. I mean, if you think about it, like they basically run like a 5-2-4 defense, right? I mean, it's a really interesting kind of just setup. Those outside linebackers are basically playing, on the line. It's interesting to watch these guys, this defense play. I don't know that there's another one that plays like them. When their defense is running, it's running well. When it's not, it's a real shit show.
Their safeties are not good.
No. But of course, I mean, they've got Jair, right? and Douglas, and those are two strong cornerbacks.
Jair played great last week. He was really good.
Yeah. Quay Walker, not that he's okay. He's not great as a wide as a linebacker. Campbell's definitely stronger.
Devondre is very good. Kenny Clark up front is great.
Mm-hmm.
They bring waves up there. They're formidable.
But we've got an offensive line that gives us the best chance against those guys. I mean, that's a strength against strength matchup right there. Their defensive line against our offensive line. And they may, this is if I'm scheming, if I'm them, I don't play that 5-man front, actually. I pull one of my linebackers back into coverage because, look, why? I mean, you can do strength against strength and see how it works out. But once you go into coverage, it's going to be trouble. It's going to be trouble for the Lions. It absolutely is. If one of your outside linebackers can cover.
The zone blitz concepts that you're talking about, that has given Goff trouble in the past.
Yep.
Back to college. That's just not where he's great at it. It's a good defense, and they have talent. They haven't always played to their talent on defense this year, but they have gotten it better in the last couple of weeks. The last time we played them was they were in the midst of they were having a lot of injuries on their back end, and they were struggling. They have righted their ship. Yep. So if the Lions win this, it's because they earned it. I don't expect the Packers to give the game away. I don't think that. I think that Aaron Rodgers is going to play well, but the Lions, again, they have the firepower. They have the ability. They really do. They can go in and win this game.
Yep.
They can.
Yep.
Doesn't mean they will, but they can. And I'm looking forward to seeing them try. I really am.
Flounder asked how many Hard Knocks teams made the playoffs. 6 teams have made the playoffs. JMO out there would be huge, especially there is another
variable that they haven't seen.
No film on him, and he gets out. All of a sudden, he starts taking out. You put Alexander into safety because you want safety help against JMO. That opens up the offense in a whole nother way, right? And you don't, again, he can be, if they don't feel like they have the chemistry, he can be a hell of a decoy. Remember when Calvin was basically on one leg and played a whole game as a decoy? He made a huge difference. We won that game, didn't we? If I remember right, we won that game.
We did.
And it was strictly because we had a threat that they knew they couldn't leave him alone. Yep. JMO is very much possible to play that kind of role if they don't feel like the chemistry's there yet. I hope the chemistry's there. I hope to see JMO running just
I hope it's
laps.
good. It was not good. It wasn't good last week, but they got more time to work on it.
Yep.
They still found a way to use him last week, though, and I was happy about that.
Yeah, and boy, was that beautiful. Boy, was that beautiful.
When he turned that corner, holy crap. Like, wow.
Yeah. Woo. All right, there we go. So, Anything else that we want to cover about this Packers game? Any matchups or anything to watch out for, Riz?
No, I assume that Scott's going to do a preview video for us.
He absolutely will.
Bischoff will do it. By the way, he's getting better at those every week.
Yeah.
Scott, you're killing it, buddy.
Yep.
If you're watching right now, if you hear this later, you're doing a really, really good job. I love having you on the team, buddy.
Yep. And this is great because Scott's really just kind of started with what he's doing, kind of getting his leg, getting used to working with us and doing it. But you're gonna, again, when we get to this off season and kick off and really start finding him a nice, a solid spot in the draft coverage, and then in on the team, you guys are gonna love what he brings. I mean, when you see him on the St. Jude show when we had him on, people absolutely loved, like they all of a sudden saw who Scott was and got a taste of it, right? I mean, there's just so much good stuff coming. I can't wait.
Scott and I have been good friends for a very long time, and we celebrate the fact that we do not see players the same way, and we've worked together that way before, and it's going to be a lot of fun to go through it.
Yep.
It's debate without acrimony. And that's where you get really, really good content. And that's what we're going to bring to you.
Lions is 4.5 point underdogs is just disrespectful. You know, you get 3 points for being the home team.
I don't think so. Yeah.
So, yeah,
I
it's
think
a
that's
point and a
fair.
half. I'm okay with that. Big old FTP. And I think everyone just FTP in the chat.
I love how it's just scrolling. I normally can't even see that, but I can read it. I don't have my readers on, but I can see that. Like,
everyone hit the chat with an FTP right now. FTP. And let's get the big the likes and subscribes in. Thank you everybody for joining us. We got a lot of stuff going on. We have the preview coming up. We have the post game show, and then we'll start the post game shows, if you know what I mean. Let's get this going. Don't forget about us on Patreon, patreon.com/Detroit Lions Podcast, patreon.com/Detroit Lions Podcast. You get access to the ultimate, most intelligent chat on the internet, the Lions Slack, for $5 a month on the donation side. Get in there and do that with us. We appreciate you for doing that. Also at DET Lions Podcast, DET Lions Podcast. Follow us on Twitter. You get all the latest, greatest, all the cool and important information about showtimes, everything else that's going on. We appreciate that when you do that. Thank you, Flounder. Well, I'm going to roll through these really quick. We'll start with Flounder. Thanks for the super chat, Flounder. And then we'll hit the boom, 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 boom. Just rocking the FTPs. You guys are the best, you gals.
The entire screen's like way up for it. Great.
Give us a call on the Lions line. It's 248-782-8384, 248-782 or 8384 248 rub you fug. Also, be sure to go to DetroitLionsPodcast.com. Subscribe to the podcast. Why would you do that, Riz? Why would you subscribe to the podcast?
So I can come into your ear holes automatically.
There you go. All right. Thank you for tuning in. We're going to see you next time on the Detroit Lions podcast. Remember, no pants, no toasters, no hot tubs, no problems, because we are your Detroit Lions in Reddit connection. Thank you all for joining us. We appreciate you. We'll see you after the Lions victory.